So may I just interrupt you for a second? And ask if there are specific questions or comments about any of these recommendations, please. And we have an extra mic. Yep. Please raise your hand and Jesus will bring you the mic. Aneta.
Yes, my English is maybe not so good, but everything what's written is perfect. But the sentences are so long, and there is so much information in every long sentence that you need really time to understand the beginning and the end of a sentence. So I highly recommend to make the text easier. More understandable for everybody.
Okay.
I agree.
I understand. I take your comment, and I can work on making these shorter sentences.
Okay, so we were discussing number one, and that was about recruitment. And we're a bit, we're not so convinced that you should strive for gender balance in recruitment of students to higher music education. So that's a big question mark on that one. I would prefer that students are not in that sentence.
Okay, so can I ask for a vote here? Who feels that we should remove students from this policy recommendation? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
Yep. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Do you want to talk?
So we're just going to have some further comments here, Pavel.
Yeah, can I say something?
Excuse me, please.
Thank you. Because this topic is quite touchy for me. I'm a cellist, and in our department, the cello department in Krakow, I graduated 3 years ago, and I'm the last male to graduate in our department. And same moment I'm sitting in the entrance exams, and for last 3 years, this year we had the first man applying, and we agree on 10 cellists a year. So trying to make the gender equality in a cello department would mean not accepting anyone or forcing male to play the cello, I don't know how, because they don't apply, because they don't play the instrument. So recommending that in cello situation, in Krakow at least, would not work at all. That's all what I wanted to say, just a feedback.
So just for a little clarification about the word strive, it means we attempt. Pardon, I shouldn't stretch the microphone away. We attempt, but it doesn't mean that we have to. It's about a sort of a. Are there further comments on this? This is a hot topic.
Yeah, I would like to comment because I represent two groups with different point of view. On the one hand, I am a composer, so it's a male job. And as a woman, I really don't want any parities because I want to be accepted because of my competition. Sorry, because of what I can do, not because I am a woman. I don't want to take place of man who is better. If he's better, then I want him to be on my place. But on the other hand, I study also opera singing, and at my department we have parities because of the way we study. We have dance classes, so every woman needs a man, and we have also acting classes when we work in pairs, and we need men and women. And at this department, it works. It really works. Yeah. So there are two different sides of this theme, I think.
I can feel there's a lot of reaction here. So if you have additional comments, please be my guest.
Maybe I can, before we go into that, I just wanted to kind of remind us also of the process. So these are recommendations that we made during Assembly 2, so in February. They were come together, they were then discussed on the 13th of May, and they've been also voted on. So I'm actually not sure what to, but it's important to aware that these recommendations have already gone through a process. So it's important to remember, and I think this is, I mean, please discuss, but remember one of the things that we also said for Assembly number 1, is this something I can live with? It doesn't need to be perfect, but it needs to be something that you can live with. And I can imagine that for this case, it's important to discuss, but like for the rest of this discussion, I just wanted to remind you of the process and of the question, is this something I can live with? It doesn't need to be perfect. So just to nuance things a bit. I thought, Anya, you had your hand raised.
Just on that, I guess just for that particular topic, I do feel students shouldn't be that because students should be let into the different institutions for competence and potential, and just filling a number is just not really going to help them because they tend to drop out. At least that's my experience.
Okay, are there further comments on this point? Can I ask another question, just sticking with this point? Bearing in mind what you've just heard from Esther, that this point has come out of a process. It's not something that I invented this morning and put on a piece of paper. And it's a process which you all were part of. So just coming back to Esther's question, is this something you can live with? And if you could raise your hand, if is this something you can live with, or if not, I don't know. Yeah, we're talking about the students. Is this something you can live with in its current state, as it is worded here? So please raise your hand if you can live with it. Doesn't mean you think it's perfect. Say, okay, are you going to count? Okay.
Can somebody make notes, please? Count, yes, please count.
Lift your hand high. Lift your hand high.
Okay. Repeat the questions because.
Yeah, can I just
Wait, Carolina, because some people didn't
before you
understand.
vote on this entire thing, you first vote on the amendments, so on the proposed amendment. So it's really important that we first talk about the removal of the word student, and then
I was just talking about the first.
as a whole of the sentence.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, right. So the first point we need to discuss is whether they want to remove students, and then other amendments, and then we go to the sentence that has come out of that, and then we vote on the approval of that.
Okay, so now we have to vote on whether they want to take students out.
Yes, exactly.
I'm sorry, we are going to backtrack. Can I ask you to vote if you would like to remove the word student?
As was proposed.
Can we just rephrase it? Because it's not that we totally disagree, but we would put it in different words. Is it possible? Or? Yeah, so you had a good idea.
So my idea was we urge institutions to absolutely not take into account staff's, students, and teachers' gender in the process of them applying for a job or a place in the university. So absolutely not take into account gender, not to make any difference, but to completely ignore that.
Yeah. I think, okay. No.
Well, I may add, I am a student,
and I am a singer, and I'm choosing my second degrees. Now I'm looking for a specialization. Maybe if I am a singer, I'm gonna have another specialization in a singer, a pop songwriting session, or something that it is written for me, that it's normal for me because of my friends, because of my colleagues, because I know a lot of singers that used to choose. Yeah, so just one moment. But otherwise, if we got a possibility to maybe improve some possibility to women to choose another no. I mean, in St. Louis College of Music, we got some policies to improve brass section to come inside the St. Louis College of Music because we don't have brass section. So they have economical helps in that sense. So maybe.
What I just don't understand. I'm maybe the only one, but I just don't understand what this addition is about.
Okay, so I just want to come back to your recommendation. The recommendation is that, rephrasing this, that we urge institutions not to take into consideration gender in the choice of staff, teachers, and students. That not be a consideration. That's okay. I'm just phrasing what has been said. Okay.
My thought is, like, this discussion, I feel kind of put back before we started this whole process, like before the Zoom meetings, before everything. I thought that the consensus is that we, like, that would be utopia, that we disregard race, gender, sexual orientation, et cetera, that's utopia. I'm all for it, but we live in a society where all these categories are implemented in policies and structures and everything. So to say that higher music education institutions should disregard what is everywhere is, to put it mildly, unrealistic, and to be absolutely frank, it's discriminatory.
Are there any further comments?
It says strive for, not you have to. It says strive for. It's not you have to do it. If only one man applies, you will not pull 4 men out of your ass. It says strive for, not you have to. Absolutely.
I would like to just be clear, because I'm not against anybody. I just wanted to, focus on our qualifications, not about our gender, because there are situations that, for example, on a 1 year, I have some all female students, and the next year I have all male students, and it just don't matter what gender they are, but I focus on their qualification, and it was just our statement. Because it will never be the same amount of gender and also other genders.
So I just want to come back to the phrase that was just made by Tino. It's important to know the word strive. It means try for. It doesn't mean this is an obligation. It doesn't mean we're going to put you in jail if you don't do this. It just means that it's a goal. It's a goal.
I think something important is being said here as well, is that what I'm hearing here, and also on that side, is that you're afraid that quality is gonna go below gender. That's your fear, right? I think that by focusing on the word strive for, people want to explain that that's not the case. But I just wanted to highlight that we recognize, so the reaction that you get from to talk about the verb strive for is there is the, if I understand correctly, the trial to take that fear away and say, yes, you strive for gender balance, but not at the cost of quality or competence. All right.
Can we spend a little time reworking this, not right now in this assembly, because I think it's a little too tricky, but just coming up with a sentence that you could maybe vote?
I think actually we haven't discussed. We should have discussed it a little bit more. But I think that now that we've heard different voices, I think we can actually do bring it to a vote and just see where we are at. And if we're 50-50, then of course we're gonna rework it or something. But I just wanted to kind of because now some people have spoken out, and it's clear what the different feelings are around this sentence. And you've been able to take this in as well, kind of heard the other person, hopefully also felt that you were heard or recognized, for example, in the fear that goes for quality, in the importance that it's not a have to, it's not an obligation. These are the things that we've heard. And now it's maybe good to kind of see what the balance is. Now that we've heard this, how we feel about this sentence. So I actually would like to get the hands raised, just to kind of get an overview of the room for what it is now. So if the sentence stays as it is, we urge HMIEs to strive for gender balance in recruitment of all teachers, staff, and students. Who has a problem with this sentence as it is? Also having heard everyone else. Who has a problem? Who thinks, I cannot live with this? Please raise your hand. All right. Yes, sorry.
You need like it's your qualification.
Make sure that everybody hears you.
So it's like for me personally, it's like if you're recruiting the person, it's more of like your qualification. It has nothing to do with your gender. So it's like if you're qualified for it, then go for it. So I think this is the only good way.
Encourage for the gender fluid thing.
I mean, I feel like you've asked the question and the one person has to say yes. I feel like this is the only item that's going to be a really controversial one.
Yeah. Yeah. Constance has an opinion. Thank you.
I have the impression that the people who are now speaking out are those who weren't at the second assembly.
Can I ask a question? For those of you who are having a problem right now, did you attend the second assembly? Okay, so you did not. Are there other people who did not? Can I ask who did not attend the second assembly? Raise your hand very high. Okay. Okay. This is not about saying why you weren't there, but it's just to understand. Okay.
No, it's not a problem. Yeah, I thought that might be the case.
We are starting the process again now.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
That's the thing. Yeah, exactly. So maybe I would say.
You want to take a pass on this and just go for the rest of it?
Yes.
So right now, I'm going to suggest that we leave item 1 to the side. And we hear you. We hear that there's real concern and that there are very strong feelings. I just want to say that the people who are expressing points of view that may not be the majority point of view feel very strongly about that, and we respect that. So right now, we're going to just hold this a little bit to the side, and we're going to move on to 2, 3, 4, and 5. And just to make things simple, I will read them aloud, and hopefully this will help also Aneta. I will try to read it in a way that makes it easier to understand. We urge higher music education institutions to raise awareness of issues related to gender and sexual discrimination through ongoing mandatory workshops and training for students, teachers, and staff, including gender-appropriate language and behaviors, information regarding institutional policies and support systems relative to discrimination or harassment, and advice for teachers. Any comments? Is that clear? Okay. You have a comment? Okay, so I hear that you somehow want this, maybe I could divide it into 2 sentences for some of you. Okay. Number 3, we urge higher music education institutions to create safe, inclusive, and equitable teaching and learning environments through development of a toolbox to include regularly updated and clear policies regarding sexual orientation, harassment, or discrimination. Further, we recommend the creation of safe spaces in which students, teachers, and personnel can confide in trusted outside experts. Questions? 4, we recommend higher music education institutions develop comprehensive policies and procedures relative to gender discrimination in all its forms. Students, staff, and teachers should be made aware of their rights and responsibilities in this regard, as well as procedures by which they can register complaints regarding gender discrimination or harassment in any form. Is that clear? Are there questions, comments? I just add a little by way of explanation that I thought I had to have 1 sentence recommendations. So I really worked hard to make these 1 sentence, which is a task. So now that I hear that you can't understand my sentence, then we have to think about this differently. Okay, so no questions on number 4. We come to number 5, communication. We urge higher music education institutions to make visible information and institutional support systems regarding gender and sexual orientation, discrimination, or harassment, be it digitally or through posters, buzzwords, photos of relevant support personnel, and contact details of people who can help. Questions? Comments? Can I ask for a show of hands? Would you, with this assembly, agree to approve recommendations 2, 3, 4, and 5? If you say yes, raise your hand. No? So we have 1 no? Is that a no or a yes? It's a yes. Okay. Okay. So my wonderful colleague here, Esther, actually has a solution for number 1. Here, here.
Working actually in the field of democracy, the way that we make these recommendations is based on a little bit on how Parliament works. And in Parliament, you get policies and laws to vote. And then when there's a group that disagrees with how the law is formulated, in this case, that would be with statement 1, the people that really feel that they cannot live with it, they are invited to come together and to propose an amendment. An amendment means a change. So an amendment can be either an addition or removal of a certain word, or you can propose to rephrase this. And because at the moment, and because we are not sure what that means for the majority, this amendment is then put to a vote with the entire majority. If the amendment, so the change, is accepted by everyone, then we accept that amendment. If it isn't accepted, then we stick to what it says now. That's the way how it works in Parliament, and that would be my proposal. This is also how they use this in citizen assemblies, actually. So this is what we are based on. So my proposal would be that right now, after the assembly, the people that have that have a problem with the formulations, they find each other, and you can write an amendment. If you are two different groups with two different concerns, you can write two amendments, right? It's not, but the people that really cannot live with this, they can come together and write an amendment. You can even be by yourself. I mean, if you are right, you don't have to find other people that at the moment. And then what we're gonna do, I think in about 2 weeks, we're gonna let me know. We're gonna reach out to you, and we're gonna see what amendments you've written. We can also help you with the English if that's necessary. And then we're gonna, as we're used to, we're gonna kind of bring that back to a vote in the entire assembly. So you're allowed to kind of express your concerns, change it if you want it, and then we're going to bring it back to the larger group and see if they accept your change. Maybe they accept it, maybe they don't. So that's the way how it works in Parliament, and that's my proposal to move forward with the first one. I just want to see.
But there were several comments and several suggestions, and we can't just listen to a phrase and everybody's not looking at the phrase. So this is much more formal, but it means that we're really all reading the same sentence.
Yeah, and while I was coming up with this, I missed a part of what you read. So how are we doing on the rest of the statement?
So we agree that apparently my English is too long-winded. So I will work on cutting these into shorter sentences, or maybe presenting it slightly differently on the page. Maybe just a question of how it's presented on the page, so that it's more understandable.
All right, and in general, the other statements
were approved.
They are accepted.
Yes.
Right. Great. Thank you so much. This is an interesting democratic process as well. Like you can hear it, emotions, and this is my work. Right? I like this. Like democracy is like music. You have all these different voices. They come together and then they form one beautiful whole.
So now we actually have a lighter moment. And we are going to invite Madame Anna to come forward and share with you your secret friend. Esther.
Yeah, thank you also.
Looking forward.
Yeah, thank you so much for these 2 days. It was wonderful to be here with you. I'm gonna tell you what happens next. We'll have a concert and then we'll go home and then we'll all be back in our own situations and institutions and you're like, what happened to Prime? So there's now one kind of support where you can look on information and you can share also with your colleagues, with your friends, and that's the Prime website. Our group is also going to work on it a little more so that you have all the recordings and the different information from it online at some point. This will probably happen during the autumn, so it won't be all online immediately, but at least the basic information is there. So now if you want to, if people say, what were you doing in San Sebastian? Going to the beach? And you're like, no, I was stuck in this black box and I worked on recommendations. So you can now actually prove that with the website. And the other thing is that we have our last assembly where everything will come together and where we'll discuss artistic standards. So indeed, we're going to have a nice discussion about quality in relation to all the other aspects of diversity, power, and who decides what quality is, right? Can we decide it, or does somebody else decide it for us? And we're going to do that in Rome, hopefully. Fingers crossed. And we're going to do that on Valentine's Day. So that's a good reminder. All the love. It's going to take place on the 14th and the 15th. Correct me if I'm wrong. 14th and 15th of February. Did I get it wrong? I got it right, right? 14th and 15th of February next year. It's going to take a while. We're going to also organize still a reflective meeting in between. But we'll see you back in about half a year in Rome on Valentine's Day. And then we're going to take our last leg of the journey in power relations. In the meantime, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact us. Don't hesitate to be on Slack.
So I'd just like to say a few short words about this assembly. These are just considerations from having spent the last 2 days being inspired by you and by all that we heard and tested and played and experimented. I feel that these 2 days have really opened a door to helping us see that there are many, many issues out there which we do not see, literally. I mean, in many ways. That we think that we have a lot of empathy, and we do. We care about each other, but we may not have the whole picture. And so I think that this is a door opener, and we certainly saw with Sam Du Bois that there's a whole garden that you can start to water and to explore in terms of diversity, in terms of disability, in terms of socioeconomic backgrounds. And that these are very big subjects which are often just not even considered, or they're not even on our radar screen. We can't see them. So hopefully this will be a moment which is like a kind of open door moment, or a push the button moment, where you suddenly see maybe there are some things that I want to explore more, and explore with people who may have experiences that you yourself do not have, and that suggests ways forward for your institutions. And I think that our last moment together around the policy recommendations for the second assembly shows just how, first of all, how strongly people feel about these issues. This is not just something that you're writing because you think you have to do something. It's something that we care about very, very deeply. These go to the roots of who we are and what we believe. And I think that what is really powerful here is to see how you are all able to hear each other despite your disagreements. And we will move forward through the amendments that you may or may not submit. So I think that these are all things that we can take home with us as part of the richness of the process, and also what these themes suggest for further exploration and further thought. And there are no hard and fast answers, but you also have a whole network of people that you can also continue to dialogue with, even if they're at the other side of Europe, and that this is another resource that you have. You have resources that have been documentary resources, articles, videos, but you have each other. And I think that that's a fantastic gift. So I would just really like to thank each and every one of you for all your wonderful participation, and say that I'm sorry that I cannot stay for the concert. I have to get a train and get back to Paris tonight. But you're a great group, and it's a wonderful experience, and we look forward to our fourth assembly together in Rome. Thank you.